What's good, guys? This is Vahagraphy. I'm Vahagan, your rock and roll photographer. Today's video, I'm going to review the Nikon 16mm 2.8D fisheye lens. Check it out. But before I move on with this review, please like and subscribe to Vahagraphy, hit that thumbs up button, hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload new videos. Thanks, I'll appreciate it. So the 16mm 2.8D fisheye full frame lens. I usually use this lens when I want super wide shots with the fisheye effect. So this lens really becomes useful in many types of shooting in situations. For example, if I'm shooting concerts, bands on stage, if I want a really close-up shot of the singer, it does a really good job close focusing, and it gives a really cool fisheye distorted effect. If you're shooting events on the dance floor and everybody's lined up dancing, it's a really cool effect to use when they're dancing and you want that whole dance floor shot with the fisheye. And another time I use fisheye lenses, when I'm shooting sports. When the game is over, I want some nice aerial shots of the court, people walking off the court. I'm sure you've seen professional basketball games, NBA. Andrew Bernstein, the main photographer for the National Basketball Association. And by the way, he has a really great gig, huh? Anyway, Andrew Bernstein. Every time you see basketball in the main games, he's always there with this exact lens, shooting the Nikon with this lens. Those pictures that he shoots with this lens get published in websites, newspapers all over the world. And you know this lens gets used in professional settings, so you know that it's a proven product. And now we're going to dive into the specs of the 16mm 2.8 fisheye lens. The 16mm 2.8D fisheye lens allows you to achieve 180-degree fisheye dramatic coverage. Launched in 1993, this is Nikon's only prime fisheye full-frame lens. The optical design hosts 8 elements in 5 groups with a 7-blade diaphragm. You can only autofocus with Nikon cameras that have autofocus motors. This lens has CRC, close range correction, a system Nikon's developed. It provides superior picture quality at close focusing distances. It also has SIC, short for super integrated coating, multi-layer coating of optical elements in Nikon lenses. It's designed to help reduce flare and ghosting for improved contrast and color accuracy. It close focuses 9 inches away and has a built-in lens hood that protects the front element and is designed to cut flare. This lens is made in Japan. Although not weather sealed, it's built very well, and it weighs 10.23 ounces. The aperture ring is right on the lens. You can shoot it wide open at f2.8 or stop it down to f22. The lens comes with 4 rear filters. One must be in place at all times. Again, it's very important to note that this lens will not autofocus with DSLRs that are lacking autofocus motors. So this lens pretty much is the only option if you want a Nikon fisheye lens that's prime and that's 2.8 as of today. There's other fisheye lenses in the Nikon lineup, like the 8 to 15mm 3.5 to 4.5E lens, which is a newer, more modern lens and more expensive. There's also another 2.8mm option, which is the 10.5mm Nikon lens, but that's a DX lens, crop lens. So this is the only Nikon full frame prime fisheye lens that's 2.8. It's a D, but you know what? It's a great lens. I'll tell you right now, I use it all the time. So I mentioned the other Nikon fisheye lenses in the market. The 8 to 15 is a great lens as well. It's a good modern choice. It's not a prime. I'm sure it's sharper, newer technology, newer lenses, newer glass, and it's AFS. Don't forget AFS. But it's not 2.8, it's 3.5 to 4.5, but it's newer technology. but I'm sure the 8-15 is also a great lens. I haven't tested it out. I haven't used it yet. So you have a couple of options to choose from. Weigh your options. If you really like the fisheye effect and you can afford it, get both lenses. I know that lens goes for about $1,200 new. And if you're using mirrorless with the FTZ adapter, it would make more sense to get the 8-15 because it will autofocus. And something else to keep in mind if you're a Z shooter. I'm sure Nikon is in the works and working on a fisheye lens for the Z system. Those are things to think about if you're in the market for a fisheye lens. Mine was in really good condition. It even came with all the filters, the box, and everything. This lens came out in 1993 and is still sold today for about $1,000 brand new. It weighs about 10 ounces, built very well, constructed very well, feels very solid. When you focus, there's very little resistance, which I do not like sometimes. But when I'm using this on my DSLRs, D4, D800, it autofocuses, so I don't even manually focus when I use it on my DSLRs. The autofocus is loud, but I don't see that as too much of an issue. There's not a lot of distance to travel to focus in this lens. As far as mirrorless goes, again, it will not autofocus with the FTZ adapter, but like I said, that's really not an issue for me because the focus is very easy, especially with peaking on the camera. So bam, it's really easy to shoot. Not an issue in my book. Alright guys, here's a few sample shots of the 16mm fisheye lens mounted on the Z6 with the FTZ adapter. By the way, I'm shooting this clip with the 16mm on the Z6. These images you're about to see are straight from the camera, no processing, high-res JPEGs, just so you guys get a real-world example of pictures taken with the 16mm fisheye lens. And one more thing to note, with the FTZ adapter and the Z6, it was fairly easy focusing with the EVF and peaking on. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Alright guys, well I thought I'd mount the Nikon 16mm 2.8D fisheye lens on my Nikon Z6 and do some video just for you guys to see the focal length and the coverage and the distortion of the lens, the fisheye look. So you guys get an idea of what I'm talking about when shooting video. Let me get the focus right on the camera there. 2.8, 3.2, 3.5, f4, 4.5, 5, 5.6, 6.3, 7.1, 8, f9, f10, 11, 13, 14, 16, that's dark. So all the way up to f22, and let me bust up the ISO. Here's the ISO at 20,000. The ISO at 20,000 at f22, which is all the way at f22 all the way, ISO 20,000, 25,600, 32,000 ISO, 40,000 ISO, 51,200 ISO at f22. f22, 51,200 ISO, and I'm focusing the lens. Everything's in focus pretty much. The focus, it doesn't affect the focus at f22 that much when I'm turning the focus. Here. What's good guys? This is Vahagraphy. I'm Vahagan, your rock and roll photographer. f22. Let me change it to more usable settings, more realistic settings. Let's go to ISO 400 at f2.8. There we go. What's good guys? Am I in focus? So anyway, I dialed it back to ISO 200, more realistic settings at f2.8, and you're gonna see the field of view right now. What's good guys? So yeah, I just mounted the fisheye onto my Z6 with the FTZ adapter, so you guys get a little idea of the focal length and what the fisheye looks like when you're doing video full frame. So you get a really cool field of view. This is a really good, this can be really useful if you're vlogging too. If you're vlogging and you want that fisheye effect, this can be really, really useful. What do you guys think? What do you think? So let's see how close this thing focuses. Let's try to focus close. Get this microphone. Shoot the microphone. Alright, let's see. 2.8, or focus right there. Boom. That's about it right there. That's how close is the closest distance from the microphone to the lens to the camera. Right there, you're in focus at f2.8. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed the review of the Nikon 16mm f2.8D fisheye lens. So hopefully this video helped you guys out seeing what this lens really can do in your video, in your photography. It's only fitting that we end this video like this with the fisheye on. This is Vahagraphy. I'm Vahagan, your rock and roll photographer. Rock and roll.